I'm Shain, a New York Jewish mom who had the audacity in 1993 to continue a geriatric pregnancy and give birth at the age of 46.
And I'm Sarah, the result of that pregnancy. 32 years later, I'm currently a practicing therapist. Though Shain is often thought to be my grandmother, she's still my mom, and this is Listen to My Mother,
a podcast where we answer your real-life questions with 2 points of view, one rooted in motherly instinct,
and one rooted in clinical training.
You'll get guidance, support, maybe a little tough love, but always from the heart.
And if you'd like us to answer your question on air, head to the link in our show notes and send it our way. We want to hear any questions you have.
And now it's time to
Listen to My Mother. So I'm back from Israel. On our last episode, I was rushing to the airport, which ended up being insane because I left my house, went to the airport an hour before my flight was supposed to board. It got canceled. And I was like, guess I'm not going. So it all got sorted because I went. But it was just stressful from day one. Stressful from day -10 because the flights were getting canceled so much. But it was overall a good trip, really intense in a lot of ways. But one of the things is so today is Wednesday, June 4th that we're recording this. And on Sunday was the anti-Semitic terror attack in Boulder, which I'm in Denver, so it's not very far away. And it was just, when I was listening back to the last episode to approve it for publishing, I was thinking about how we were talking about how Dad is so nervous about every time that I travel abroad and everywhere that I go and everything that I'm doing and all this stuff. And it's just kind of insane to think that 2 weeks ago, last week, whatever it was, I was safer in Israel with sirens and rockets and all that than I potentially am just going to an event for the hostages in Boulder, Colorado. And Dad's so worried about me going to Georgia and Azerbaijan, where it's actually going to be that's probably going to be the safest place I'll be all year. That's just kind of crazy. When I was listening back to episode 6, the conversation we had, I feel in light of the Boulder attack, doesn't age well.
Things are moving very fast on the ground. There is no way to know. There's been 2 major attacks. They're major as far as the Jewish people in America are concerned because we're such a small part of the population. We're 2%, if that, of the
U.S. population.
U.S. population.
0.2% of the global population.
And there have been, a number of attacks, and they're so random that you have no idea if you're going to just randomly end up somewhere where somebody feels that they have the right to just attack, take your life, burn you, shoot you, whatever. It's important, though, to not become paranoid, but to live your life. To walk out the door, go shopping, do your thing, meet people, go to a protest, whatever level that you feel you can show up. It's important to be visible.
Yeah.
Because we really have no choice. We're not going to hide. We're not going to disappear. We've been through worse, and we'll continue. That's it.
This weekend, there's a Jewish festival in Boulder. It's an annual event. It was planned before the attack, and there was a chance it wasn't going to happen because of the attack, but it is happening. And I was not even considering going before, but now, since the attack, it feels really important to be there. But I think that it would be really common for people to be well, I'm never going back to Boulder. It's unsafe, right? But I think it's kind of what you're saying. We need to be visible, and because of the Boulder attack, it's even more important. I think that this event, that's an annual event, this is probably going to be the biggest one ever because of the attack last week, because the community doesn't cower, because when things happen, we continue to show up. So I don't know, I think it's going to be an important weekend. And I have asked non-Jewish friends to come with me because I think it's important for them to bear witness to both our grief and our joy. We'll see if anyone comes with me. I know a lot of my Jewish friends are going, so I'll definitely be with those people, but I think it's really important for my non-Jewish community to also bear witness to this.
I think it's important for those in society who are not directly affected but can see, if they can step back, It's hard because somehow if it's happening to Jews, it's okay. If it was happening to any other group, there would be an outcry. So it's important for those who are not Jewish to step up and say, no, this is not okay.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it's so important for my non-Jewish friends to come with me to this event, because these are all people who have historically spoken out very loudly for pretty much any other group when things like this happen to them. And I'm pretty disappointed that like no one has spoken publicly about this. Like a lot of people have texted me privately, and I'm very appreciative of that. I'm very appreciative that I've been thought of in this time. But it also kind of like, I was talking to my therapist about this yesterday, like it rubs me the wrong way that support for Jews is like a secret. Like it can only happen in private. And that feels really icky to me.
My sense is that right now it's broadly okay to attack Jews. It's become acceptable for, the attacks, and saying something against it puts you on the wrong side somehow. It's super complicated. It's unnerving. It's disappointing. It's a lot of things.
Let me read you something that I posted to my Instagram this morning. There's a picture that's going around that says, if standing up against anti-Semitism burns a bridge, fuck that bridge. So I shared that image and I wrote, I'm so appreciative of all my non-Jewish friends who have reached out to see how I'm doing after the attack in Boulder on Sunday. That being said, I am disheartened that I haven't seen a single non-Jew posting about the attack in Boulder or calling out the anti-Semitism that has infiltrated the Free Palestine movement. Being an ally to Jews shouldn't be secret, shouldn't be happening only in private DMs. I get it if you're afraid of the backlash you'll get for speaking out. Imagine how we feel. I've seen so many friends speak up publicly and do ally work for so many other marginalized populations, but never ever speak up publicly for Jews. I get that it's not popular in your circles, but like the photo says, if standing up against anti-Semitism burns a bridge, fuck that bridge. I think it's really easy to see someone being anti-Semitic and think to yourself, I'm not educated enough on this. Anything I say won't make a difference anyway. It's not worth starting an argument with someone about it. And I want to remind you, it literally does not matter if you make a difference. What matters is your Jewish friends knowing you have their backs.
This is, the way the world is right now. People are afraid to say something anti the current government because it can be used against them. If you think picking up students on the street who happen to be from another country and your visa could be revoked and you could be thrown on a plane and sent out, it's not a far cry to you as a person, even an American citizen, has spoken badly about the administration and you get thrown on a plane and taken out and worry about it after the fact. So there's a lot of fear in this country right now. And the fear of speaking out to support Jews is a large piece of that as far as we as Jews are concerned. But it's vast. It covers so many areas of people's need to be courageous and frightened at the same time.
Well, I also just want to point out too that those are two different fears. Those are fears of two very different things. The fear of speaking out against the administration and being put on a plane and shipped elsewhere, even citizens, that's a fear of the things that are happening on the right. The fear of the backlash if you speak out in support of Jews is a fear of like what has basically become bullying in the left. That like if you don't fall in line with the identity politics of the left, you are ostracized from your community. It's a fear of two different things.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. But it's pervasive.
Yes. Yeah.
Coming either from the right or the left, it taints the air that you breathe.
Yeah.
So moving on from air that you breathe.
Yeah. We do have a submission this week.
And it also, on some level, incorporates social fear.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from Bella. I am in 77 years. I just want to say the last couple of submissions have been from older women. That must be who we attract. But the things they bring to our attention don't cover what happens to older women. These subjects go across the board. So here we go. I am a 77-year-old single woman living in a small rural community for the past 10 years. My house is one of only two situated on a road that has no outlet. I very much like this area and the town I live in. Until recently, I have enjoyed a friendly and cooperative relationship with my neighbor. He's a middle aged, semi retired carpenter, has a lovely wife, and grown children, grandchildren who visit often. Within a couple of months of my moving in, my neighbor suggested a proposition. He would do all snow removal on my property and take my recycle bin to the corner collection point twice monthly in exchange for his use of my second driveway to park his RV. This agreement worked very well until a couple of months ago. So well, in fact, that I've allowed him to temporarily store some outdoor sporting equipment in my garage, kayaks, etc., since he has none. The exchange served both of us, as he always showed consideration and kindness toward me, such as helping me carry heavy items during my recuperation from surgery a few years ago, and he once repaired a part of my deck fence. He has also offered to help with other small household tasks, for which initially refused my offers to pay him, but eventually accepted. About a year ago, I began to notice a change in my neighbor's demeanor toward his family and a couple of other neighbors in the area. Publicly short tempered, abrupt, rude, not the friendly, considerate man he'd been. He hadn't shown such behavior toward me until one day a few months ago when he became enraged at me for including a small bag of household garbage in the recycling bin. At the time, I was ill with COVID and had a friend staying with me who had inadvertently confused the bins. My neighbor's tone when addressing me about this was hostile and abusive. He wouldn't allow an explanation. When it became unacceptable to me, I told him so and suggested we take some time before we discuss the matter further. I waited 24 hours and approached him via phone twice and with various texts suggesting we talk things over. He has to date not replied and avoids me when I'm outside. He did do the snow removal this past winter, but does not take the recycling bin to the collection place. Instead, his wife does it. His wife and one grown son have approached me with apologies and regrets on his behalf. They attribute his behavior to a bad time he's been having since he recently lost his part-time job. I have no ill will toward the family, but at this point will be quite pleased to have no interaction with him. My frustration lies in the fact that my garage is nearly filled with his family's stuff, and as it now stands, I have nearly no access to their dog, to whom I've become quite fond. Please call me Bella, which I guess is not her real name, but it's the name she's going to use here. When I was thinking about how to just understand what options she has here, my first thought was, well, you're friendly with the wife. Talk to the wife, about the garage. And then I thought, no, 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 no. We don't triangulate here. We're not going to bring the wife in to fight our battles or anything like that. This really has to be directly between. You were going to say, Sarah?
I just want to say a good therapy word, triangulate.
I've been around. So this is something that has to happen between her and him directly. However she's going to do it, it's got to be between the two of them. So she says in her submission that he was this lovely, lovely man. 10 years he's been helping her, but it's been within the last year. So first thing is something happened to him. It's not just losing a part-time job. Something serious must be going on with this man. And if the family who recognize, they've apologized for him, if they don't pursue somehow intervening in his behavior for his sake and for the family's sake, I don't know that there's much a neighbor can do about that. I don't think it's her place to intervene in what's a family issue, or even to say to the wife, don't you think your husband needs psychological? I mean, it's really, what is her place here to deal with a family that seems to be in crisis, just based on his external behavior with neighbors, and then her, who they've been obviously, very friendly with each other. But on the other hand, she does have to protect herself. She does have to draw a line in the sand and say, if you're going to behave badly toward me, our relationship is going to change drastically. I need access to my garage. I need you to take your stuff. But how, when he won't talk to her, won't speak to her, won't look at her, how do these two people find a way to speak to each other? I just thought it was kind of cute on some level at the end. I have nearly no access to their dog, to whom I've become quite fond. That's kind of a cute little aside, I think. There is more loss, so especially since she's an older woman, lives alone. This dog obviously became important to her, and she's lost the ability to have contact with that dog and be friendly.
It's reminding me a lot of like I've had a lot of breakups where like the worst part is losing access to my ex's dog. And that's happened several times. And it cuz it like the dog did nothing wrong.
How do we give this woman some kind of ideas about how to pursue without becoming more, creating more of a hostile environment between the two families? One of the ways is to take a legal route, but that may increase hostility between, and then, people, when one person in a family feels attacked, the family itself might circle the wagons to protect that person and then lose sight of what's happening that needs to be dealt with. They lose sight of the fact that maybe the husband needs some psychological help, and instead will circle the wagons and try to protect him from an attack. So I don't think it can be a straight legal, here's my lawyer's letter saying, clean out my garage. I guess the first thing is to, if he won't speak to her, send a letter. Just write your thoughts, what you need from him, what you need for yourself, and say, I really need access to my garage, which I've lost, and here's a deadline. Please have your stuff out by this date. And then proceed based on a response. If the date comes and goes and there is no response, then send the letter once again, but with, as a registered letter, signature required, so that it adds another level, but you're not bringing in attorneys. But if at the end that's what you have to do, you have documentation that you have tried a very reasonable way to approach the dilemma. And it can get, once it gets to lawyers, it gets very heavy and difficult to resolve in the aftermath. You may get your garage cleaned out, but now you have an enemy for a neighbor, which, and you still have to plow shovel your snow.
I want to just give a quick disclaimer that we are not lawyers. So
No.
anything that we're talking about, like this is not legal advice.
No,
we're
for
like,
sure.
we're just kind of like talking about options.
I just want to add that one of the things I would be very careful about, the aggravation and the frustration at not having the things taken out. I would caution, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not giving legal advice. I would just caution, don't touch their stuff. It's on your property. You've given tacit permission for the stuff to be there. It doesn't mean it's in the possession on your property, but it's not your stuff. And I would say don't be the one who removes it. I think
So that's interesting.
that's an iffy place.
That's interesting because I was thinking the opposite. Again, not a lawyer, have no idea what the actual legal ramifications of any of this would be. But my thought process was I would want to get it back onto their property as quickly as possible. Like hiring movers to come in, unload it all from the garage, get it back on the neighbor's property. Because if it's in your possession, do the neighbors then, or does this particular man have grounds to be able to accuse you of holding, of like theft, of like not giving the items back? That like you're holding them hostage essentially. Like I would want to get rid of all of that as soon as possible.
Well, even if you don't use a lawyer to go after the neighbor to get them to get their crap out of your garage, you can.
Which I don't personally, again, not a lawyer, I don't think involving lawyers is at all the right thing to do.
No, but it may be helpful just to consult with a lawyer and say,
Yeah.
what are my legal rights here? What can I legally do without actually using you to make it happen? Where do I stand? Do I, is the stuff, if it stays for more than X number of months, years, does it become mine to
Right.
do with what I want? Can I one of the thoughts I had was just pack it up, put it in storage, and tell them to send him the bill.
That I feel like is like too passive aggressive. Like I think I would maybe even just want to like notify, like put a letter on their front door, send a letter, be like, I am having movers come to unload my garage and return the items to you on this date at this time. If this day and time do not work for you, please notify me ASAP. Like you need to do what you need to do to take care of yourself and your property, but you also don't want to make an enemy. So kind of being like, this is the plan that I have. If this plan doesn't work for you, communicate with me about it, but this is what is happening. Your belongings will be returned to you ASAP.
All right, this is what I just suggest. Speak to a lawyer. Find out, can you even touch the stuff? If you can, what can you do with it? It's an unknown for us who really don't know the laws in this case. But the ultimate goal here, she would have left, sounds to me like she would have left the stuff in this garage forever if he hadn't become so hostile. Because this is a neighbor, you gave him permission, they're overdoing it, whatever, they've taken advantage. But the ultimate goal here, I think, for her is not so much cleaning out her garage as maintaining a good relationship, or at least a polite relationship with her neighbor, and still that she has her own boundary line that she will not let someone else cross.
Which is why I think my idea of like just notifying them of like, this is the day and time that I'm having movers come to bring your stuff back. Like, that is civil, that is polite, that is looping you into the plan. It's not passive aggressively, suddenly your belongings are on your front lawn without your notice, right? Like, it's, I will work with you on a time and day that works for you to bring these into your home and in a way that works best for you. But like, I do need to clear out my space now. And if you won't talk to me about it, this is the way it's going to happen.
I would imagine that part of it, she did mention that they park their RV in her second driveway. Should part of that be, you can leave your RV in the garage, in the driveway. I have no problem with it. It doesn't impact my life one way or the other. It's been there for years and it's fine with me. But I need my garage. So I'm still working with you. I'm still, I'm not
Yeah.
so pissed that I want that friggin' RV off my property too.
Right.
I need this. Can you take care of this for me? Which gives a sense of reasonableness.
Yes. So the other thought that I'm having with all of this is, again, another disclaimer, like, not a doctor. This is not medical advice. But my first thought when she's describing like how the behaviors have changed so radically,
Yeah.
my first thought was like, this man has a brain tumor. And that's like really common with brain tumors, is that like he was always very friendly with her and they had this great relationship, and then very suddenly he wasn't that way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that can happen with brain tumors, that like depending on what part of the brain a tumor is growing, it's it can like change mood, it can change affect, it can change behaviors, it can like all of these things. Suddenly someone who's been the sweetest person ever can become angry and
Right.
aggressive and violent overnight, basically.
Right. A tumor. It could be any physiological thing that affects behavior. It could be, it doesn't have to be a tumor. It could be, a bleed in the brain. It could be
Mm-hmm.
just something. The fact that it doesn't sound like the family has done anything except apologize for his
Right.
behavior.
Like you were saying
Does,
that he like clearly needs psychological help, and I'm thinking he probably needs neurological help. But then so like then this comes down to like, okay, we're fourth parties in this, right? Like so we're talking to Bella, and then okay, so if Bella has this idea of okay, maybe this man has a brain tumor, does she have a responsibility, or is it completely inappropriate for her to like go to the family and say, hey, I'm actually genuinely concerned about his health, have you looked into this possibility? Does she have a responsibility to do that, or would it be totally crossing a line to do that?
my own experience has always ended up with me being the bad guy when I've tried to
Mm-hmm.
do something like that years ago when you were a little girl. We had a sixth grade graduation party at our house,
I
and
vaguely remember
we
this.
invited your whole sixth grade graduating class.
Was it a
And
pool party?
yes,
Okay, I remember
yes,
this. Yeah, I remember
yes.
this.
And one of the parents brought two of the children, and you were friends with both girls. You were good friends with both girls. The parent, and I could be oblivious, the parent who brought both girls at some point went out to her car, came back, and had a brown paper bag that she was drinking something out of. And really oblivious because this is not part of my world. And one of the other parents pointed out to me, do you see her over there? She's drinking liquor. She's always drunk, you know. And then I realized with who the mom was that I've never seen her sober, actually, or didn't realize what it was that I was seeing. And she was driving these two girls to the party. She was going to be driving them home. And she drives these kids often. And I felt like, maybe I should say something to the mom of the other girl. So when I had an opportunity to, I spoke to the other mom. I said, I don't know if you're aware, but it became kind of obvious at the party that so and so was drinking and she was driving her daughter and your daughter around and thought maybe you should know this. She got so pissed at me. This is none of your business. You have no right to. Oh, I was so totally attacked by this. I said, I am so sorry. It's your kid. You do what you want. And so it's kind of hard to step into somebody else's.
That sort of reaction isn't because you did the wrong thing. It's because they felt called out that they weren't doing the right thing. Because it sounds like what happened with this mom getting pissed at you is like, this is something that they were aware of, but we're so grateful for the help with all the carpooling and everything, to like, how much does it dramatically change their life to acknowledge this thing and to have an outside person acknowledge it to their face? Now they really have to face it, and so yeah, that's going to piss them off. And that's a defensive thing, right? That has nothing to do with you sharing this information, which I don't know, I feel like that situation is objectively more clear of like, yes, you had to share that information, as opposed to this situation with Bella. Like it's not as clear to me what the responsibility is to share a hunch, right? Like in this situation, it wasn't a hunch. You knew that this
Yeah.
woman was
And
drunk
she
driving.
started slurring her words, and,
Right.
it became obvious that she was drunk.
Right. So that's not the same situation. Like this is factual information that you have an obligation to share. In this situation with Bella, it's more like there's more kind of gray area here of like, is there a responsibility to share a hunch? And I don't know.
It might just do the opposite and make the same, even if it's a defensive reaction, The object here is to maintain a polite and friendly and relationship with your neighbor. And if she speaks to them and gets the same kind of reaction I got, which is, this is none of your business, stepping too far into our family, whatever, that doesn't help.
Mm-hmm.
This one line really stuck out at me in this, which is, he does not take the recycling bin to the collection place. Instead, his wife does it. So it just appears to me as if the wife and the son have apologized for him. Sounds to me like he's the real alpha here, and his wife and his son are passive in this household. Am I reading that wrong, you
Well,
think?
you're reading it differently than I am. That's definitely not my takeaway from that. I think kind of like what you were going back, like what you're talking about before, about how like families are going to be protective of each other. Like if it seems like there's an outside threat, kind of like they're going to like, I don't remember the phrasing that you
Circle
used.
the
Right. So
wagons.
yeah. Like circle the way, and they're going to protect each other, right? So it doesn't, like they don't want to rock the boat within their home life, because if this person is getting more volatile outwardly, that it's probably happening at home too, and they're trying to just kind of keep the peace as much as possible. But it doesn't, like, I don't know that it necessarily means that like he's an alpha and they're submissive. I think it's just they're trying to protect their home life, so they're doing what they have to do to clean up his messes outside of the home and then protecting the peace of inside the home.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, but we know nothing
Right, we know nothing. Right,
about.
this is all just, and that's like, there's very different ways to read any of this situation, and we really do not have enough information to know any of it. But from the information that we do have, I'm like, I don't, and again, like, not a medical doctor, but like that sort of drastic behavior change, like, because I think you're right, like this is not just because of losing a part-time job. Like there is, if like maybe it's an identity crisis, because at whatever age he's at now, he lost a job and it's kind of eating away at who he is as a person and what his worth and all that. So maybe it's simply just that it's an identity crisis, which can also lead to such a drastic change in behavior. But I also think that like in that circling the wagons and the protection that families often do, it actually does a disservice to the person that needs help,
Of course, of course. But if
regardless of what the help is. If it's psychological, if it's neurological, it's like if they're not facing it head on, they're doing him a disservice.
so, if we circle, because there's nothing we can do for this family, nothing.
Right.
But they're not the ones who put in the submission. If we circle back around to Bella, what can we offer Bella to help her navigate how she deals with her own sense of frustration and loss? Again, we deal every time something happens to you that doesn't feel good, it's a sense of loss. You've lost something. She may lose, the good relationship with the neighbor. She loses the equilibrium that she had set up for herself so kindly with her neighbor. You'll shovel my snow. I don't have to worry about it. I'm a single elderly woman. I live alone. You're taking care of this for me. I'm safe. You help me when I can't carry my packages after I had surgery. You're so helpful. You're that piece in my life that has made my living alone in this house right next to yours. Your being there gives me a sense of security. Your being there gives me that I'm okay alone, because I'm not really alone. And now that's being taken away.
Yeah.
You're not so safe anymore. Not only am I not doing the services that would help you, but I'm yelling at you and I'm being hostile. Somebody that you relied on is being abusive mentally, verbally, and taking away something from you, your own sense of, really a sense of security, because they were there. Now they're being there is a sense of assault. So how do we what can we do for Bella to make her okay in this situation, regardless of how she chooses to handle her neighbor and their family and whatever screw ups are going over there. What can we advise? What can we tell Bella to help her in this moment?
Hmm.
I think one of the things she did do, she says, when it became unacceptable to me, I told him so and suggested we take some time before we discuss the matter further. I waited 24 hours, but then he wouldn't be communicative
Hmm.
for her to. But she did the right thing for herself in the moment, said, I'm stopping this right now because this is not okay for me. So, in that way, at that moment, she did absolutely the right thing for herself. So, now where does she go from here to ensure that she has all the things she had with her neighbor, now without her neighbor?
Hmm.
Don't shovel my snow anymore. I don't want you to shovel my snow. And she hires someone to shovel her snow. Or
Well, chances are there's a local teenager who's looking for part-time work in the winter who will come shovel her snow for 20 bucks a week or whatever. Like,
we
it'll,
always hope that they're not always available, but there's somebody who she
there
can
is
pay to
somebody.
shovel her snow.
Right, like that's an easy fix. There will always be someone who can come do the snow for her.
But it's part of it is the idea that there's somebody next door who she can rely on in times of if she has a problem.
Hmm.
He helped her out with tasks. She has a water leak. She can call the guy next door. And from her experience, he would come over, he would help her. Now
Hmm.
that's no longer available. So for herself, she now has to find other resources that she can count on differently. It's not the friendly neighbor, it's somebody you're going to pay to show up
Hmm.
and help you out.
Right, it's a perspective shift of just kind of what your life is going to look like. But also, like, the important piece is protecting your peace. Knowing the positions that you would be putting yourself in that would be more harmful or more painful to yourself. If you're going to try to engage with the wife in some way or try to like renegotiate whatever it is, like, okay, the wife still takes down their recycling bins or something like that. Like, if that causes more stress, then you need to protect your peace.
Right. It comes down to, I like the phrase, protect her peace. That's
Mm-hmm.
really the important piece here is how to maintain that after loss. So how do we replace that? We replace it, and she has to figure that out. Does she become more proactive for herself? In this rural community, there are only, she says, only two houses situated on this road that has no outlet. It's her and her neighbor. That's it. So, does she now try to cultivate someone around the corner?
Mm-hmm.
Another neighbor that might not be next door, but that might replace that sense of security. Otherwise, you become more closed in. You're not free to experiment or move out because there's nobody that you can call on to say, I'm having a problem. Can you help me? And of course, you have to be the kind of person who can say, I'm having a problem. Can you help me? And open yourself up to that, to ask for help. The
Yeah,
neighbor made it easy. It's
right.
not easy anymore.
And I also just want to name that, like, I'm having a hard time conceptualizing what I think is like effective advice in this situation because my perspective is like there is no good or easy answer. Like, any path out of this is going to be upsetting in some way or another or hard in some way or another. Like, there's no easy answer. I mean, I think it's really rare that anything has an easy answer, but I think in like previous submissions we've had, I've had like kind of concrete things that I can suggest and things that I can say. And in this situation, I don't feel that way. I don't feel concrete about anything.
I agree. I feel the same way. First of all, we don't know the deep person here. We don't know the depth of personality, of strength, we don't know who she is in the broader sense. So we don't know what mental and spiritual and, intrinsic strength she has in moving forward in her life to reach out to someone else to say, fine, my neighbor is no, we can be polite, but I'm done with them. How she moves on. We don't know who she is in terms of taking care of herself this way. So we can only hope that if she's gotten to this point of being 77, single, living alone in this, what she says is she loves this area. She loves the town. So she must love it for good reason. And part of that would be community. She may have to reach out within this community. Who can she really tap to be this person that's she could call at any time? She can say, I'm stuck here, can you help me out?
Yeah. I don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, Bella,
Yeah.
you're on your own.
But it's also kind of like, I guess, okay, so maybe what I do have to add is just that, like, yeah, Bella, this really sucks. And, like, some things just suck. And there's nothing to do about it, right? Like, that's a huge part of life is things just sometimes.
And I just think we should underscore that the issue here is not the loss of her garage space. It's the loss of the relationship with the neighbor.
Right. There's a really great quote from Glennon Doyle's book, Untamed, where she says, if you are uncomfortable, in deep pain, angry, yearning, confused, you don't have a problem, you have a life. And that sometimes just part of life is things suck and there's no response to them. There's no solution to them. And that is just part of life sometimes. And it's not fair. And it just sucks. Like there's nothing else to say about it really, but it doesn't make you wrong, right? It doesn't mean that, like she said, like it doesn't mean you have a problem. It means you're existing in life the way that life sometimes happens.
And the thing from my own experience is sometimes with neighbors, you can have a falling out. You can have something that disrupts what you think is a really great coexistence, and something breaks that. And then somewhere down the line, that disruption becomes just not a big deal and things just become good, fine.
Someday I hope to have good enough relationships with my neighbors that we can have a falling out. Right now, I don't even know most of my neighbors' names.
Well, perhaps you should remedy that.
Actually, this weekend, because since I moved into this house almost 2 years ago, I have missed every single block party. I've been out of town for every single block party. And this weekend, I will be going to my first block party. So I'll finally be able to meet some neighbors, even though I can only stay for 30 minutes because I have another party that I have to go to straight from the block party. But I'm bringing chocolate chip cookies and I will meet some neighbors and I will then go to the other party.
Okay, so this is outside in the road?
Yeah, so it's like we're not allowed to park on our street the day of the party because they block off the whole street. And then they have like food and music and everything just literally right in front of my house.
Okay, so what I recommend to you is, how people work the room? You have a half hour to work the street.
That sounds sounds like prostitution.
I didn't say the corner. I said the whole street.
Yeah, okay, so I'm very good at prostitution.
You have to sweep the street with your bubbly personality and let everyone know who you are and how lovely you are and that they should want to be your friend.
I will do my best. I'm very good at that, but I can only stay for a little bit because then I have to head to, my friend is having for Pride Month, like a Pride themed garden party where we have to dress like we're on the coast of Italy, but also in rainbow. I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
That's okay. You'll figure it out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, Bella.
Yeah. Sorry, Bella. Life sucks sometimes.
And for some people more than others.
And at different times more than others. Like there's ups and downs for everyone.
And yeah, well, those are words of wisdom. Okay, so we'll just call that a draw. I don't know if draw of what, but
No, I
yeah.
think it's not a draw. It's just like there are things that happen. I mean, I think every other submission we've gotten, it's like we can provide perspectives that maybe the person hasn't thought of. In this situation, as far as I think either of us can see, there is no other perspective to provide because the situation just simply sucks.
That it does. That it does. It's hard to be on the outs with the neighbor because it's right there.
Right.
It's right
You
there.
can't go home and escape it because it is at home.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, sweetheart. I'm going home. Oh, I am home. Okay.
Yeah, I have to go to work, so it's time to wrap up.
And we hope whoever is out there, if you have an issue you'd like us to get stuck on, just send
Right.
us your submission. Give us an opportunity to throw it back and forth between each other and see if we come up with something that actually can help someone.
And if this is your first episode that you're listening to, I promise we give better advice in different episodes, so go listen to those.
And off we go.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, sweetheart.
I'm Sarah,
I'm Shane.
and this has been Listen to My Mother.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a positive review and subscribing to us on your favorite platform.
And if you'd like the chance to listen to my mother, head to the link in our show notes, which is currently bit.ly/listen to my submission. That's bit.ly/listen to my submission and submit your question.
No question is off limits.
And don't forget to follow our journey on Instagram at listen to my mother or at whatsthepoint.therapy.
Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Mama.
Bye, baby.